Teach the machines?
No, he's going to teach the next generation of human pilots.
Yeah. Top Gun 2, The Matrix. Man versus machine is what we are talking about this morning, but that will not be the topic of our show because that's just a debate that's happening here. Next movie fights will be to pitch the perfect Top Gun 2.
Or not.
Or not. That might not happen. I'm Roth Cornet. This is ScreenJunkies Universe. That's Joe Starr, Spencer Gilbert, Dan Murrell.
Hi.
You know what? I woke up this morning and I said this week, I'm just going to get right to the stories. I'm not going to meander at all. And here we go. Peter Rabbit stirring up quite a bit of controversy.
Oh.
This is via the New York Times. Sony Pictures has come out and apologized to the people, the movie-going audiences of the world for making fun of allergies in this film. So here's, I guess, a slight spoiler for Peter Rabbit, but no.
Whoa. I liked that movie a lot.
You did?
Yes.
I
don't
didn't
just
see it.
fluff up.
Don't dismiss Peter Rabbit.
I
Rob.
didn't see
Peter
it.
Rabbit is, I thought, a
Was it
really
good?
cute, really funny movie. So don't just Peter Rabbit right off
All
the
right,
bat. I liked it a lot.
well, we can't talk about the story if we don't give the spoiler.
Well, sure, no, but I just mean, like, I thought you were being very dismissive. You offended me by being very dismissive of Peter
boy.
Rabbit.
Oh, boy.
Before you started talking about the allergy story. And I think that...
Next movie fights.
the Peter Rabbit
Did it suck?
lovers out there, I think, would not have appreciated that.
Wait a minute.
So-
Let me just clarify. Do you feel about Peter Rabbit the way I do about Paddington?
Not quite. But Paddington's great, and this I thought was a really fun kids movie.
Well, that's good to know. Now
I just
I'll
don't
go
want to
see
give the impression falsely that it was a terrible movie because I actually quite enjoyed it. You know who else did? Strangely, Roxy Stryer. It's
Roxy
the one thing
Stryer.
we've ever agreed on.
Wow.
That's good.
Well, now I really have to
The
see
Dan
it.
Roxy Venn diagram
Yeah.
finally,
It connects
has
to
finally
Peter Rabbit.
connected.
Apparently,
Right on.
I don't know.
Well, now I definitely have to say, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I actually have no opinion about its relative merits. But now I know from Mr. Dan Murrell that I should, because if it's something that he and Roxy like, I will certainly love it. And no one could feel as strongly about anything as I do about Paddington. Having said that, some people are feeling very strongly about a moment in this film, which I guess is kind of a spoiler, yeah?
No, it's like it's part of. There's a back and forth between them. It's Mr. McGregor, who's Donald Gleason, and Peter Rabbit, and they have like a war during the
Hux.
movie. They're going back and forth. Hux.
He's
versus
the
Peter Rabbit.
Mr. Hux versus the rabbit.
Yeah. He's kind of playing the same character, which is hilarious.
only in
He's
this
just as
case it
cartoonish
works.
in Star Wars as he is in this movie, playing Mr. McGregor and Peter Rabbit.
Well, he has certainly checked off villainous Brit off his
Yes.
list of things to do. He's such a good actor when he's playing a human. So Mr. McGregor, who is Donald Gleason, who is the villain in the film, has an allergy to blackberries. And there's a moment in which Peter is chucking blackberries at him, and it goes, this is what I understand, it goes into his mouth,
Yes.
and he almost goes into anaphylactic shock. He has to give himself a shot with the EpiPen, and the allergy enthusiasts of the world, or the defenders of allergy, the Kenneth Mendez. It's not funny.
Kind of is.
But Kenneth, so many people are mad at me right now. Kenneth Mendez, the president and chief executive of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, said in an open letter to moviegoers that they should not mock food allergies, which are often life-threatening. Making light of this condition hurts our members because it encourages the public not to take the risk of an allergic reaction seriously. I get it. This cavalier attitude may make them act in ways that could put the allergic person in danger. Sure. I want to hear everybody's opinion. You've seen the movie. There are allergies that are legitimately life-threatening. My mom had an EpiPen for bees. I'm allergic to penicillin. Probably should have that bracelet or whatever. Yeah, like there are allergies that are serious and we should be taken seriously. But at the same time, and I really ask us this because I want to honor everybody and their feelings. I mean, comedians and things that are attempting to make jokes are going to say things that are offensive sometimes. And the reason that happens is because sometimes you're finding your way to the right joke. And I'm not a comedian, so you guys correct me if I'm wrong. But the other thing is, like, the entire purpose of humor is A, to make light of serious things, and or B, to tell the truth about things that are hard to tell the truth about in a way that makes us laugh so that we can get there. That's my perception of it. Dan, you
Peter
saw
Rabbit's
the...
really like the Lenny Bruce of 2018. He's speaking uncomfortable
Yes.
truths.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No, but look, I don't have a strong allergy pro or con representation.
You better
take.
heat up that take a little more.
I better heat it
you're
up.
live on the internet. Spencer.
This just tells me that literally nothing else must have happened in Hollywood either over the weekend or this morning. Because why are we talking about this? Is this really the biggest movie
It
news
is
we got?
becoming a big deal. Though.
Well,
Yes.
opening up the curtain. Yeah.
So I haven't,
Not a lot happened. Wait till you get to our next story.
Oh God!
so I haven't seen this movie yet.
Can we talk about books we've read or
Yeah, do you wanna talk about what I
we did
watched
over the
this weekend?
Yeah, what did you watch this weekend?
Sure. Dan?
No, I want to talk about this. No, because this is becoming a legitimately big
Is
story.
Mr. McGregor a bad guy?
They're battling each other. I think
Okay,
there's things that
Is he gonna hurt the rabbit?
he tries to.
Okay.
A lot.
So the rabbit, in self-defense, puts a blackberry in a very bad person's mouth, and then that person goes into anaphylactic shock, and the rabbit's able to escape. In my ballpark?
Ballpark. Yeah.
That's a lesson I would want my kids to learn. If your attacker has an allergy, you use that allergy to your advantage.
Well, see, but that's what they're saying, and it's not that allergies aren't very serious. They are incredibly serious things, but it's like I guess now Mrs. Doubtfire's off the table because that's about using it
run
to
by
pepper,
fooding.
and then Pierce Brosnan
Right.
puts a lot of pepper on his food. And is, oh my god! And then he has to jump over and help us on the way and give him the Heimlich. So I guess that's bad now.
Not only that, but Meg Ryan in Addicted to Love, who used her ex-lover's allergy against him, if you'll recall.
And I mean, but even just going back to things
Oh,
like,
I will.
I don't recall.
If we're going back to Goonies, I guess now that's fat shaming, and if we're going to The Sandlot, it's underage tobacco use. And if first of all, I think that really the focus here is number one, and I'm being 100% serious. I'm not being like glib about this. He goes into anaphylactic shock. He has an EpiPen with him, and he hits himself with the pen, and he basically saves his own life.
So it's
or he
showing
would have
people what
died.
to do.
So I think that there is an element that if you have a child with allergies that you took to this movie, there's also an angle where you could say like, look, here's a character in this movie that has an allergy. He had his EpiPen with him, and he used it correctly and saved his life. You could take that angle too. Secondly, this whole movie, without going into specific spoilers, this entire movie is about this war between them, and the lesson learned at the end of it is that you shouldn't go to extreme measures because all you're going to end up doing is hurting other people, and it's not worth it. That conflict is not worth it. But that message is not being preached. It's people are kind of hyper focusing. What they're also not saying is there's a scene earlier in the movie, and I saw that I think this original letter they said the movie implies that food allergies are made up. The characters say he's probably making up for attention, and then the character of Peter Rabbit literally says in the movie, "We're just saying this to make fun of this person. We're not making fun of food allergies." And he looks into camera and says, "We don't want to get letters." Like, the character literally says, we're not making fun of food allergies. We don't want to get letters.
Well, you're getting letters.
So, but the thing is, like,
letters.
I understand, but at the same time, it's like, if entertainment is scrubbed of everything that anyone could potentially find offensive, we're not going to have entertainment. We're not going to have
Exactly.
anything. And I get that there are parents that feel like this movie targets their kids for bullying. I don't know how many rabbits are shooting blackberries into kids' mouths on playgrounds, but I understand the idea of like
More than the answer may surprise
But the
you, Dan.
movie is not. The movie's not endorsing targeting people for their allergies. It's part of a war between these two people, and the ultimate lesson is you shouldn't do this. It's not worth it because it's destructive and it's going to hurt people. And it just seems.
Do you think
It seems like an opportunity to have a really serious discussion with your kid, and instead it's now, no, you have to apologize and change it because you've offended me. And it's.
Do you think Kenneth Mendez saw Peter Rabbit?
I'm sure he probably did. Yeah, I would hope he did. I would hope that before writing this letter, he would do the due diligence of.
I mean, that
going to see the
I don't
movie.
think he did, and that's I think another issue
I
is.
think he did see it the Saturday night before he penned the letter.
So he saw Billy, our producer, who's back. Welcome back, Billy.
Welcome back, Billy.
Is telling us that he saw the film the night before he penned the letter. Nice use of penned, by the way. I don't know. I mean, look, I have not seen the film, but it sounds like there's actually a good case example of how to treat yourself if you do go into anaphylactic shock. I don't think anybody thinks that allergies aren't real, and I don't think that anybody thinks that they're not serious when they are serious. My larger concern, and I do think that this is something to talk about, is in our own personal experience, every other thing that we say may offend someone, right? And I think the problem with that, and inevitably does, I think the problem with that is that eventually you end up saying nothing. We all end up being so afraid to say anything that we say nothing. And which isn't to say that you might land on the wrong thing sometimes, especially the people who are just sitting here talking live every day, probably are going to land on the wrong thing sometimes and need to refine. However, that to just attack and say silence, shut up because you offend me, like that's not correct for art. It's not correct for a democracy. It's not correct for healthy communication. Like, work through it, figure it out.
Bald jokes bother me. They really do. And it is a punchline that society still uses. The M&M's commercial with Danny DeVito, he's like, "Oh, I'm looking pretty good." She's like, "You're still short and bald." Like, bald is like thrown out as a synonymous for unattractive, for undesirable. You see it all the time, and I hear it and it bothers me. But I don't write M&M's and demand that they apologize. I either don't buy M&M's or you use it as a something to start a conversation. But this thing of just like, you offended me, you suck, and you need to apologize. It's like, no, it's you can't just walk. If everything's an outrage, nothing is.
Well, and if everything's an outrage, then nothing happens. And there's no movement. Like, blonde jokes used to bother me. They legitimately did. Now I don't care because fine. That's dumb.
I still get really upset about Polish jokes.
Yeah. Well, and do you know how they
Screen doors on that submarine. Oh, hilarious.
It takes one of me to change a light bulb.
And if you actually look back into how they started, Polish jokes are really sad, actually, for why and how they started. Look it up. You can Google it. Legitimately, though, at the end of the day, I don't know if you guys saw Dave Chappelle. Speaking of Netflix and what we watched this weekend, I didn't watch this weekend, but on Netflix, Dave Chappelle has 3 comedy specials. Right? And one of them was in LA, far more casual than the other 2. And he's sort of talking about everything that's happening in Hollywood right now. A lot of what he said in that special, I did not agree with. However, a couple of things I really did, and this was the most important one in my mind, where he was like, I'm here to be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything I'm saying right now is inaccurate and wrong, but we have to talk about it and we have to say these things. And you can't be afraid and back off from saying anything, and perhaps you're wrong, and perhaps they are wrong, and they do need to apologize. But I just do really caution all of us to, have a little bit of perspective about things. I didn't see it, but from what you described, it doesn't sound like they were intending to offend people or dismiss the reality of allergies. In fact, they knew not to do that.
It's not like Pure Luck with, no one remembers this movie. Back in the early 90s, there's a movie with Martin Short called Pure Luck, and he's this like the unluckiest guy in the world, and he's allergic to bees, and he gets on a plane and he leans back and there's a bee, and then like a minute later they cut to him and it's just like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "I'm fine, and you?" And he's like got a clump suit on and he's blonde, and he's like, "Oh, look at me!" And it's like, that scene now, of course, would be extremely offensive, but it's like, but that's like, if that had happened with Mr. McGregor and he eats a blackbird, he's like, "I'm a monster," and he's like, "Ugh," walking around. It was like, I get it, but it's like, this was, I don't know. It's
there was
just
a scene like that in the Box Trolls.
Yeah, and
Jeez,
there's scenes like that in so many different movies. Allergies, allergic, and I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that, and I just don't. I get wanting to enhance. This could be an opportunity to, I think, have a conversation with kids about the realities of it, and instead it's being used as an attack and it's just a requirement that you apologize for offending me. It's like, people say shit that offends me all the time, and that sucks, but it's at the same time, it's like, I don't go demanding an apology from everybody that says something that offends me. And by the way, there are plenty of audience members even people with allergies, whom it didn't offend. So it's kind of acting on behalf of a majority of people that,
I have allergies.
You're
I'm
demanding
not
that people kowtow to your specific version of what's offensive and what's not offensive. And I think that, if that precedent is set, then no one will ever be able to do anything, because I'm sure that everything somebody says is offensive in some way to anybody. But I think context matters. And I don't think that context is being taken into account in this case.
So I'm about to say something that I'm pretty sure will offend Dan, which is our story number 2 today. But I agree with so much of that. I will say, on the other side of that, we're in a moment in our world, and as we evolve and as we grow and as we change as human beings, there are things that used to be socially acceptable that then no longer are, because we've grown and we've evolved and we've changed and we've learned things. That's okay too. It's okay to say, like, that thing that people said casually 10 years ago, we no longer say that casually because it's hurtful and it's harmful to people, and we need to adjust how we are. And if we're not willing to do that, we're not willing to grow as human beings.
I'm more concerned that rabbits still aren't wearing pants.
Yeah.
Like it's been decades.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad stuff. I'm first of all, I'm allergic to popcorn scented gack, so no one send that or I will die. And second of all,
You actually have a little medical bracelet.
Yeah.
don't reissue popcorn scented
Well, that's what
gack
his tattoo
because-
is.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
gack.
yeah. It's a medical tattoo.
These controversies, these aren't real grassroots controversies. There's no popular support behind them. These are and I say this on all sides of like the most SJW and the most MAGA chuddish people. Like there's just 2% of people on all the extremes who are the shrillest and the loudest and the most annoying. And yeah, we can all point to them and be like, ha ha ha, they're stupid, or this is ridiculous. People are so sensitive. But like most people aren't and don't care, and this will never make a difference or ping anyone's radar who sees this movie. So.
It apparently has.
Are we the shrillest?
It's got the attention of ScreenJunkies News and of the president of the Asthma Allergy Foundation.
New York Times. I've seen
his
15 news stories about this.
Right,
today.
because it makes news, because it's the loudest voices that get the microphone, or the most annoyed and upset people that get a microphone. But that's like 1% of people on both extremes. Like, I do believe that most people just go about their lives and
have
watch a
their
movie, and they're
allergies.
like, I didn't like that joke, or I like that joke, and they have their allergies under control. The end.
Final word on that
Allergies unlock.
from Spencer. Yeah, I mean, but our world is being driven by the loudest voices at the
Right,
moment.
but that's the problem with that is like the internet, not people.
Yeah.
I think.
But Sony did come out and apologize. I think that's the thing. It's not like it's just an outright. Sony sincerely apologized. They said they shouldn't have done it. And so, like, if that is the 1%, then that means that, okay, well, now that is dictating the official studio positions on things.
And
Yes.
I feel like we see that in reality too, where it's a small voice, a loud, small voice that often dictates positions that affect the rest of us. So it does matter.
Right, but let's not generalize like people are so upset these days by this, or people are so sensitive. It's like, no, a very small minority of people get really upset about certain things, and people.
I want Peter Rabbit 2 to just double the hell down.
Okay.
And just like he's allergic to so many more things in Peter Rabbit 2.
Seinfeld, Bubble Boy.
Yeah. Mr. McGregor's now in a bubble. Yeah, he's in a Bubble Boy thing, and he's like, you did this to me, Rabbit.
Rabbit! Let's talk about the shape of penis.
Wow, segue.
Solid segue.
Shape of water. Oh boy. Welcome back, Billy. This is via IO9 and Gizmodo. So Tumblr user Xenocat Artifacts,
It's a really good Tumblr name.
which is so amazing, is a maker of monster-inspired sex toys, because that is a thing. So thank you. We now have an idea of what the fishman's penis might have looked like, and I think we've all been asking ourselves that question in the shape of water. Yes, you have. Don't you nod. Don't you say no.
No.
An actual
I always assumed it was barbed.
barbed.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I think barbed is cats have barbed penises
I've never seen a fish.
and a fish penis.
Yeah, I
I
assume
don't,
that they just spray their eggs
Don't
into
they
the
spray it?
ocean, and then they are coated with a jelly of. Never mind. Like, carry on, Roth.
no. I think that's true. I don't know that there are fish penises.
I don't think there are fish sticks.
Comments. In any event, there is now a dildo that is
dildo.
the functional. It's called the Jewel of the Amazon, and
Solid name.
it is silicone. It glows under UV light. We cannot show this here today, according to our content manager. Here's the closest approximation that we could show.
I am offended as a fan of Gumby. Gumby has been a family icon for over half a century, and I am legitimately offended at this improper use of his
Gumby seems a little soft.
visage.
Never mind.
Yeah, you guys can go look it up. It's actually really artfully done. And there
like the
was
movie,
clearly a lot of care put into it. This is not the first movie-inspired dildo. The release of Twilight, there was a vampire one that sparkled, and that users were encouraged to freeze overnight for the authentic feel. I
God.
discourage that.
no.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go on the record and firmly discourage that. Is this too much time on people's hands day, Spencer?
Oh,
This is a good use of time,
you
Too
right?
much dildo in
I'm not
people's
gonna
hands.
shame someone for that's the lesson that I took away from that movie. If you want to do a fish man, do a fish man, and now you can make your dreams real.
Was that the moral of that story?
Orders are completely sold out.
Sold out, Billy tells
Well,
us
reviews
first
are
round.
great. I mean, there's some really positive user reviews for the Jewel of the Amazon.
Yeah, have you?
Would you like to
would you
share
like to
some?
share some, Joe?
Yeah, it's a wonderful mix of textures to explore, and potential buyers are reassured that the rigid fins don't feel as harsh as they look.
They are ribbed.
Yeah.
They are ribbed for anyone's
her
pleasure.
Yeah.
or his pleasure. Dan,
I'm very happy that this Tumblr user could cash in on the
Hey
shape
man,
of water.
this is Etsy. This is
Since
crafty
it's a Tumblr user, I don't know. It's just
Oh.
Tumblr user Xenocat artifacts. I don't know. It's just stupid. It's really
See?
depressing to see the storyline for this movie develop.
Dan, it's gonna win Best Picture. Don't
It's
worry.
not
really
gonna win
is.
Best
No,
Picture.
I think it really
Look,
might.
wanna-
I don't
wanna make
think
a
it's
bet?
going to.
Want to make a bet right here?
I
Right
don't
now?
think it's going to win Best
I'll
Picture.
make a bet.
Want to make a bet right now? You
I'll
take
make
the
a bet.
field.
Look.
You take the field.
I'll take the field. All right.
If you can take anything away from pop culture right now, it's that everyone wants to have sex with everything that's in a movie or a TV show right now. So it can't be surprising to you that someone made a Shape of Water Fishman dildo. Like, people want to have sex with Sonic the Hedgehog so much.
Who
This guy
are
was
you
definitely.
hanging out with?
This guy was
Don't Google it.
in line. Yeah, don't Google it.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this guy was
So
going to get a
much
dildo.
here on
This guy was going to get a dildo.
This guy was going to get a dildo.
That's the
It's
first thing I saw
inevitable.
when I saw the trailer for this movie. I was
That's
like,
gonna get a sex toy.
He
gonna
look
get a
it
sex toy.
did very well at the PGA. It's tracking very well. I think it easily could win Best Picture. And there's
Dildo
so
or the
much
film?
more. The dildo and the film. There's so much more to this movie than the fish sex. But the fish
You
sex
wouldn't
is
know
an aspect
from
of
the
it.
culture. I've heard nothing about this movie other than fish sex outside of our review of this movie.
you know
I
who
think it's
loved
really
this
stupid.
dildo? Kenneth Mendez, President and Chief Executive of the Allergy and Asthma Foundation of America.
It's latex free, so don't worry.
All right, everybody take a vote. Which was a better use of time? Making the dildo or sending the asthma letter?
Dildo.
What?
Which was a better use of time? Making the
For who?
dildo for life.
Like society.
Society.
Oh, I don't know. Who am I to judge? Do you?
No, I mean, I'm not.
So you
gonna
think
be,
the letter
I'm
was a
not. I'm
pink
not
thing?
stepping into the trap of saying the dildo was more important than the asthma letter. You're not, step into the trap, Dan. No, that I'm not going to reduce their. I'm not going to reduce their concerns to less important than a dildo. That's not. No.
Put these blackberries in your mouth.
I don't know where you guys are living, but dildos are very important. Disney is making their way.
No Dirty Aunt Roth graphic? I mean, come on.
I said it under my breath.
This whole
There it
segment
No.
has been asking for that.
I feel
now.
like that's just like life lesson common sense, Aunt Roth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they're important,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
We're going to talk about what we did this weekend at the end of this show, maybe. But first, we're going to talk about Disney making their way into Chinese streaming, which is not an easy thing to do. This is via CNN Money. Disney has gone in, basically, let's just lay it out. Netflix can't get into streaming. They've given up. They're like, it's too hard. Basically, the restrictions are too difficult. Facebook can't get into China. So Disney's gone into a deal with a streaming service that's already there to release 1,000 Disney movies, TV episodes via the Youku video platform. So here's the questions that we're asking ourselves. Like, obviously, this is very lucrative potentially. And it's something they already had some of their movies in a streaming service there, but it got shut down. So this is what they said, that the only way to get into the market is in a partnership with local companies. So that's what they've done. And basically, Facebook and Netflix said, we give up, it's too hard. And Disney said, hold my beer. And I'll show you how it's done. But the other question is that CEO Bob Iger was talking about this, about putting in the theme park in China and how much that actually had to do with getting the streaming service going, their ability to stream in China as well. What are your thoughts?
I guess, yeah. Is that how you show that you're willing to play ball? Is you build a theme park, and then they're like, okay, we can trust you to hand over everyone's data
Well,
or
you
whatever.
build,
Like,
you
all right,
build
you
the
get a
park,
little more.
and people are like, I do want more of this here, and then China eventually has to go. Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea how
You can have DuckTales.
how it works there. I know that they hate Star Wars, which is cool. The fact that they can't get anyone to see a Star Wars
It's
movie.
not so much that they hate
I've-
Star Wars,
it's just
that they're
unfamiliar.
completely ambivalent about
I find
Yes.
that really funny. So they're clearly just like, and they have their own homegrown entertainment industry that and online ecosystem that kind of is surrounded by a great firewall that when I was there, you can't look at anything really aside from local.
Definitely not that fish.
Definitely not
No.
that fish.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, I mean, good for Disney. I don't know. I'm afraid of what they'll have to do to break in.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about censorship, a lot of that content is family friendly. It's already quadranted to death. It's already pretty palatable, I think, probably to most audiences.
Yeah, you're right. And if you want to get a preview of living in like a panopticon, go to Disneyland and spit your gum on the ground and see how fast you get whisked away to Disney jail.
I don't
you're right.
want a preview of that at all. Dan, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another branch of the mouse house. They're obviously not going to get their money from China via Star Wars, so I guess they're dreaming up new ways. It's this whole streaming thing that's the new battleground. That's going to decide what's happening. And, for a while, Netflix was the only competitor, really. I mean, Hulu for TV, but it was just kind of Netflix, and now it's Hulu's edging in, and now Disney's edging in, and we'll see if Apple ever jumps in to the game. But China. It's a big market. So for Disney to get some penetration into that market where no one else could, we'll see, and how that plays with their mergers and all that. It's very dry stuff, but it is the makings of the future of entertainment because it affects everything.
All these
Everything.
media companies seem to want to go from making content and then giving it to a distributor to being direct to consumers. So this is just another, anytime Disney can avoid having a middleman between them and whoever's watching it, they seem to be just trying to buy that out, so they can always just go directly to whoever's watching.
I mean, they're going through a previously existing service, so it's not their service. At the same time, it's a foothold in a massive market that they hope will
for now, it's
raise generations of Disneyphiles, right? They've done here.
Yeah.
I think that Disney streaming service will absolutely sort of launch independently in China.
Yeah.
They're full on Wolf of Wall Street.
Well,
right
it'd be
now.
hard. I mean, I do think that might be hard in China. They might have to just go this route in China.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, just when you look at the more they integrate into kind of a one world strategy, it's not a one culture world.
It's a small world,
it's a small world, but full of many different things.
Yeah.
So there are certain things, if Disney's kind of integrating into China, it's like, okay, well, everything we need now is to kind of be in partnership with China. There's things culturally, like we were talking about with Coco, ghosts, for example, not something, and kind of sorcery is something that China does not allow. I think with Coco they allowed it because it was kind of a generational story, but things like Suicide Squad didn't get a release in China because of its kind of witchcraft. So it's that thing of just the more that you have a company that ties itself globally into doing a global business, the more that they either have to decide, well, we have to take a loss on this because we can't release it here, or we need to excise parts of this. There were stories about Doctor Strange, things that they changed that they knew, well, we can't go to China if this is in the movie, so we're gonna, the more we globalize entertainment, the more you're gonna see either a kind of broader general thing as far as, and I don't think it's unfair to say more generic in the sense that if it has to play everywhere, there are certain things that you just can't put in there, which means there's certain things that have to go in, or you're gonna see companies have to make, going forward, is Disney just going to give up on Star Wars in China, considering that, they did okay with Force Awakens. I mean, over $100 million. They did with Rogue One, and then The Last Jedi just completely tanked. So,
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But the other thing is, we had no idea that when they made It's a Small World, they meant we will own the world and your lives and your souls for the rest of eternity. Because that's apparently where we're headed.
That's the plan.
That is the plan. I remember I worked in documentary and distribution for a period of time, and we did international broadcast. And one of the things that was true that I got 3 for me films a year, and then the rest of them needed to be things like nature documentaries, sports, cars, things like that, things that would translate across the world. And it's true, you couldn't have complex character-driven films. You needed to have things that were just big and broad and about sort of the visual aesthetic of it. So that I think is going to be more and more true of the films that we see, and hopefully we still get some interesting films here and there. What'd you do this weekend?
I played basketball with JT. JT.
Did you really?
Yeah, we went. I got in on his pickup basketball game, and I played about as well as you could expect for someone that hasn't been on a court in like 6 months. But JT's got a sweet jump shot.
Got game.
Yeah.
I'm going to on the air tell my top JTE moment of the year so far, which is that this morning I came in and I just hear him by the cameras going 1, 2, 3. And I was like, what are you doing, JTE? Thinking he's checking the channel. I'm rapping, nothing, go away.
Nice.
What'd you do?
We discovered that there's a season of the Great British Bake Off that we hadn't seen.
Nice.
So we jumped on that.
Stuck it in there, yeah.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Yeah.
Saw Peter Rabbit.
Saw Peter Rabbit, saw the Chilean film that we talked about, A Fantastic Woman, on Charting last week, which is up for Best Foreign Film. I had to go to Encino to see that one. And I saw the 1517 to Paris, the Clint Eastwood movie about the train.
Get off my train.
We may get a reenactment of that tomorrow or sometime
know.
this week. We'll see.
Yeah, it was.
Working on it.
It was an objectively amazing, heroic, admirable, brave act, and I thought a pretty not very good movie.
That is what I've heard.
It's kind of sad. For many reasons.
Yeah. Well, once it's been out
Wide
for a
and
little
far.
bit, so that there are not spoilers, Dan will have a reenactment of a particular moment in the film that is
That's pretty
pretty
good. He does a good
amazing.
Clint.
That's one of my top Dan moments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I already went.
Oh, very well. Spencer, I don't remember what you said.
All our weekends
I watched a bunch of Netflix on my couch because I was tired. I do really want to see A Fantastic Woman with my cat. I watched a lot of. Have you guys watched Chef's Table? It's so good.
Yeah, where you been, Ralph?
Yeah, I'm so late to this party, man. Watch that. There was a show that was on Bravo about a bunch of con artists called Imposters that's on Netflix that was pretty good. And then I watched a little documentary as well. But you know what you should have been watching that I encouraged you to do this weekend is movies that are sexier than 50 Shades of Grey, because that 20 minutes of this person, and Sasha Perlraver, I would say is hotter than anything that has
Just
ever
in time
been.
for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, just in time for Valentine's Day. Go check that out. We're going to have the honest trailer tomorrow.
To be fair, Peter Rabbit was sexier than 50 Shades
Yeah,
of Grey,
I know.
as was the 1517
Well,
in Paris.
I have an allergy kink. So, very hot movie to me.
Trigger warning.
Boy.
There is an allergy reference made.
Leaning right into it.
How many other ways can we offend people today?
Oh, man. They're
leave
really
that
going
to
to
you.
come after us on this allergy thing.
Yeah. Everybody, I don't know. Have a good day. Everybody's doing their best. You're doing your best. I see you out there living life, living your best life, being beautiful. I'm so inspired by the food show, but I don't have as much to say that's inspirational. So you do you, and we'll do us.
Oh.
Oh, Gumby.
Gumby's a beloved icon.